Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think that was the bell sounding. I will go ahead and call our council meeting for September to order. And I'd ask that you please rise and join me in a moment of silence as we reflect on what occurred 24 years ago on September 11th. And I'd like for us to reflect on how the country came together and unified after that tragic event. It was a powerful time for us. Join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Councilmember Johnson Wilson, would you please lead us in the invocation pledge of allegiance? Tony, could you please join me up front, sir? And while he's walking up, I just want to recognize Mayor Waring, former Mayor Waring is in the audience with us. Thank you for being here, sir. You have something to read, Madam Clerk?
I do, yes, sir.
Okay.
This is from Chief Melcher. Chief Fiala takes on more than anyone could ever imagine, managing our department's finances and logistics while still jumping in wherever he's needed. He's hardworking, dependable, and always willing to lend a hand no matter the task. What makes Chief Fiala so special is the way he leads by example. He never hesitates to step in, support others, and ensure the job gets done. His dedication, positive attitude, and selflessness working for the town of Somerville for the past 24 years make a difference not only in our department, but in the lives of those around him. We are truly grateful for everything he does to keep our team moving forward and our community safe.
Just a couple quick words on Tony. When I first started working here and serving, I found out that I thought there were triplets that looked just like him because he happens to be everywhere. He's over at the fire station. He's over here. He's working with department heads. He's on different floors all the time. And something he's been instrumental in that Lenny was sharing earlier is cost savings measures and helping us do things more efficiently within the town of Somerville. And I really appreciate that initiative and all of your dedicated service to our beautiful town. So thank you.
Can I have Amanda Metzger and Joe Debney and any members of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee? Whereas the safety of pedestrian and cyclists is significantly compromised by distracted driving, and whereas in South Carolina, distracted driving contributes to more than 20,000 traffic collisions annually, and whereas pedestrians and bicyclists account for over 20% of highway fatalities in South Carolina, despite representing less than 1% of traffic volume. And whereas the South Carolina Hands-Free and Distracted Driving Act, effective September 1st, 2025, will make it illegal to hold or support a mobile electronic device while driving and prohibits composing or reading of text-based communications. And whereas public awareness and enforcement will be key, with an initial education period followed by fines. And whereas the Town of Somerville Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, in collaboration with the Somerville Police Department, believes this law is a significant step towards safer streets for all users, especially vulnerable pedestrians and cyclists. Now therefore does Russ Touchberry, Mayor of the Town of Somerville, along with Town Council, hereby resolve to recognize and support the implementation of the Hands-Free and Distracted Driving Act as an important measure to reduce distracted driving, prevent accidents, and save lives.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next, if I could have Ramey Spafford, Natasha Prosser, and Renee Rivers. Whereas more than 43 million Americans can't read or write at the most basic level, while 62.7 million lack basic math skills, as well as the credentials and skills necessary to succeed in post-secondary education. And whereas every year, 1 out of every 3 young adults drops out of high school. And whereas adult education programs contribute to solving these challenges by helping Americans move along the continuum in their educational journey to achieve basic skills and get prepared for career in college. And whereas adult education and family literacy programs assist adults who are parents or family members in obtaining the education and skills that are necessary to become full partners in the educational development of their children. And whereas in 2024 to 2025, Dorchester County Adult Education served 400 adult learners, 57 earned a high school equivalency diploma, 7 earned a high school diploma, 32 English language learners completed skills upgrades and/or graduated with a high school credential, 4 met their family literacy goals, 2 met their workplace literacy goals, and 388 digital literacy lessons were taught. Whereas the Town of Somerville celebrates Adult Education and Family Literacy Week as a proud participant in the National Educate and Elevate campaign, which helps our citizens learn about all the adult education options to attain their professional and personal goals. Now therefore does Russ Touchberry, Mayor of the Town of Somerville, along with Town Council, hereby proclaim September 15th through the 19th, 2025 as Adult Education and Family Literacy Week.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Ms. Katrina Carpenter? Whereas Jeans Angels is a local nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting and serving underprivileged members of our community through acts of generosity, compassion, and care. And whereas the organization, which celebrates its 10th anniversary on September 13th, has consistently demonstrated its commitment to improving lives by hosting community giveaways, clothing and food drives, and back-to-school programs that provide children and families with essential resources. And whereas over the past 5 years, Jeans Angels has conducted over 7 community giveaways in Dorchester County, providing over $1.3 million in brand new household items, bath and bedding, clothes, shoes, and much more, serving over 3,000 residents at each event. And whereas through these tireless efforts, Jeans Angels and its founder, Katrina Carpenter, has not only provided material support, but also strengthened community bonds, fostered hope, and inspired others to give back. And whereas the impact of Jeans Angels has reached countless individuals and families, ensuring that every person, regardless of circumstance, is treated with dignity, kindness, and respect. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and celebrate the invaluable service, dedication, and positive influence of Jeans Angels within our community. Now therefore does Russ Touchberry, Mayor of the Town of Somerville, along with Town Council, do hereby proclaim September 13th, 2025 as Jeans Angels Day.
Excellent. Thank you for everything you do. Keep up the good work.
Next is approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for approval of items A, B, and C under approval of minutes.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve items A, B, and C. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Next is a public hearing for proposed amendments to the Shoemaker Tract Development Agreement by and between Lennar Carolinas LLC and the town of Somerville.
I'll now open up the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public. Oh, sorry, sir. Come on up.
Tommy Fagan. Just trying to get around Somerville. Any amendments that would increase any traffic on Dorchester and Orangeburg Road? Orangeburg's dead end on one way, and going through Old Brook, it's almost dead end on the other direction. Then you got a little 2-lane Orangeburg Road running through there with deep ditches, and it's narrow. Anything that would increase traffic in any way, any amendment that would increase traffic, we really need to look at, and I'd sure appreciate your attention to that. Thank you.
Anyone else on the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And ahead of public comment, I just want to set some ground rules because I believe we have a lot of folks who wish to speak and we want to hear from everyone. Please be respectful of your time. There are 3 minutes total, and I will ask you to please finish if you go over the 3-minute mark, and then we'll help you sit down if we need to, but I know everybody's going to be respectful of their time. If you are, I know we had some applause there and I'm okay with that for the public hearing, but during public comment period, if you agree or concur with somebody's comments, just a show of hands of agreement and no clapping, please. That can be disruptive and increase the time it takes to get through these. And as you address our council, we are one council as a whole. Please do not call out anyone by name and address us as one body. And it's not a two-way conversation, but just an opportunity for us to hear from you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, I actually have 3 emailed public comments that I'd like to read first so that I don't forget them. The first is from Kim and Linda Tapley. We have been residents of Somerville for 15 years now, with the last 13 being spent at our current address on South Pine Street, which we have been fortunate enough to be able to do with the affordable housing that has been provided to us by the owner and our landlord of the property, Mr. Hayward Hudson. We know how developments such as 500 North Main Street can bring changes, with one being raised property taxes, which can result in rental rates becoming unaffordable, particularly to residents on fixed incomes. We have witnessed the growth of this area in the last 15 years to already go from hearing nothing but church bells and an occasional train to the steady flow of traffic, even on Sundays, and the constant sound of construction being done, giving the impression of our historic district area being redeveloped into another big city, taking away the small town charm. Next is from Mark Fuller. To the Town Council, thank you for taking the time to listen to my input and concerns regarding the development of the 500 North Main property. I would like to present my concerns for your consideration. I fully recognize the importance of moving forward with plans for this property. However, several aspects of the current proposal warrant further review. Number 1, parking. The proposed plan appears to provide insufficient parking. I would appreciate clarification from the planners on how this challenge will be addressed to avoid future congestion or overflow into surrounding areas. Number 2, preservation of the existing structure. While the central portion of the existing structure is being preserved, it is designated as part of the hotel. Will this space remain accessible to the public, or will it be under the exclusive control of the commercial entity? If preservation is limited to maintaining the exterior appearance without meaningful community use, it risks being perceived as unresponsive to resident concerns. Number 3, recognition of Kitty Springs. Although some have suggested there is no direct connection between this property and Kitty Springs, I believe that incorporating some form of recognition on the site would go a long way towards acknowledging and honoring concerns raised by many in our town. Thank you again for considering my concerns. I appreciate your ongoing efforts to balance development with the interest of our community. And next is from Laura Crosby. I'm writing as a resident of downtown Somerville to protest the removal of 500 North Main Street from the Somerville Historic District. Not only is the building significant, the historic Somerville Hospital / County Human Services property provides the only tree canopy between I-26 and Town Square. The building served as the county hospital from 1937 to 1975, when Trident Hospital opened. The bricks used in construction were locally made when Franklin D. Roosevelt was president. The building was a public works administration project, constructed meticulously with pride. Built in colonial revival style, the hospital is an important piece of Somerville's history. Presently, the hospital is protected because it is in the Somerville Historic District. What is the point in removing the building's historical designation? To save money, to build a complex that looks exactly like austere complexes located everywhere else? The old hospital is a part of the town's historic landscape and should be preserved and kept in the historic district. The bigger question is this: what will be next? My house that was built in 1890, your house that also has a history? That could easily happen if residents of Somerville do not continually and vigilantly protest requests such as these and rezoning requests by developers. The hospital is the only stately building between the interstate and downtown. What a grand facade to welcome tourists as they drive into town. I can think of no reasonable motivation for removing the old hospital from the Somerville Historic District, and I urge council to say no to mediocrity and protect the history of our community, the building, and the tree canopy. Next, Marvin Greger.
Marvin Kreger, 310 Central Avenue. Mayor, council, I'm here on 500 North Main also. Somewhere along the lines, I read common sense is stating the obvious. And to me, 500 North is a tax drain. It's not the best use of the property. I think it's not something that is seen as you come into town. Actually, what is seen is a lot of white vehicles and a lot of pine trees and not much else. I feel that it could be redeveloped. It could be turned into something that is in fact a gateway to Somerville, which I think we need out there. Right now, it's about where you get to the train tracks. So my thing is, I think as it is, it needs to be replaced and needs to be replaced with something that actually is attractive, is interesting, and brings tax money in to the town. Thank you.
Walker Smith.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, I'm at 605 West Richardson Avenue. You have before you a full report of my comments. I'm going to try and make this brief. If I don't get through them, please read them. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is LeGree Walker Smith. I've passionately spoken against taking the old hospital out of the historic district and stripping it of its historic designation in the past, and I'm coming here tonight to speak against it again. The old hospital is a beautiful building, and it is indeed the gateway to the historic district. When people drive in from the interstate or from Highway 78, they know they have arrived in downtown Somerville when they see the hospital. It is a treasured landmark to us old Somervillians. I've lived in Somerville all my life. My mother's family, the Walker family, has lived in Somerville for 5 generations. My great-grandfather practiced law in the square. My grandfather, LeGree Walker Jr. My father, the Honorable John Hamilton Smith, and my uncle, LeGree Walker III, also practiced law where the shop currently chic is. You can find my grandfather's tree. outside of the coffee shop next to the new hair salon. My father was his first circuit judge to be elected from the town of Somerville, and his office was in the old hospital. Good Lord, these are long. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to tell you is this. The old hospital means something to me because I was born there. But it also means a lot to other families because their lives were started and ended in that hospital. That hospital is part of people's families' histories, and family histories matter. Ladies and gentlemen, first and last breaths were taken in that whole old hospital. There's so many other things that make the old hospital significant. The Veterans Memorial is there, which is of utmost importance to our veterans. Remember that. The old hospital is also the site of where many protests and groups gather because they recognize its significance. The old hospital is just as much a part of old historic Somerville as the Tim Rott Library and St. Paul's Cemetery, where I have 3 generations of my people, the Walker family, buried. You would not take away their historic designation and allow them to be torn down, would you? Then don't do it to the old hospital. Please read the fullness of my remarks, because 3 minutes is not enough. Don't make us old Somervillians unhappy, because the old hospital needs to remain for future generations. Because I'll quote Jimmy Buffett, the late great Jimmy Buffett, history. How can you tell how it used to be
Thank you, sir.
when there's nothing left to see?
Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Randy Sharpie.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you guys for doing what you do here. I had opportunity to be on town council back in the 80s. And honestly, I think I had one telephone call the whole 4 years I was there. I understand that it's not like that today, that people call you in the middle of the night cursing and giving you a fit. So I appreciate all your hard work and your intentions. And I think everybody is honorable in doing what they think is best. However, with this proposal, I don't think this is a good idea. And I think that I don't know anyone over 50, with the exception of my good friend Robert Pratt and Diane Frankenberger, who think this is a good idea. This is not really even about the merits of the hospital. This is about changing the status of that property and taking it out of the historic district, which has been attempted twice and been shot down from earlier councils. And I think it's a bad idea. People talk about, got to look at the time. People talk about the appearance of the hospital now. Well, nobody's forced the county to park 50-some service vehicles out in front for years. Nobody's made any attempt to do any landscaping there. It could be attractive just the way it is. But the point is, it shouldn't be. We've got organizations in place that are supposed to govern this, and we need to let that be the rule. So thank you for your time.
Fran Harbison.
I'm Fran Harbison. I live at 403 West 2nd South. When 500 North Main was put in the historic district, there was a reason. It is historic, and it holds a place of honor for our veterans as well. Now you're considering removing it from the historic district. Why? Just for more dense development? This is not what the vast majority of residents want. I think you already know that. Please allow me to remind you that the old hospital property does not belong to Dorchester County or to the town of Somerville. It belongs to the residents and taxpayers. This property is one of the few spaces of green left on Main Street. Don't destroy it. Please consider the problems we already have with this corner with so much traffic congestion. Even Mount Pleasant moves traffic better than we do, and that's saying something. Please hold this site at 500 North Main sacred, as you did when you first put it into the historic district years ago, and honor those councilmen who came before you. This is your voting public talking. Please listen to us. Thank you.
Tommy Fagan,
Tommy Fagan. Yes, and the old hospital, yeah, it holds special place for a lot of people that are originally from Somerville. I've had x-rays there. My great-grandmother died there. So many of my friends and people my age were even born there. It means a lot to a lot of people, and it is some of the last green space. Dorchester County spending millions of dollars on green space. This is the last green space we have here on Main Street from here up to 78. They're going to put buildings there, a 3-story office building there for the county. 78 3B. How wide's it going to have to be at Main Street? 8 lanes, 9 lanes with the turn lanes? Because 5 lanes are dedicated to go through to the Berlin G. Not only that, where are people going to park? When you do all of this new construction on that little 4-point-some acres, where are people going to park? Not to mention the traffic. If the county wants a new office building, they need to put it out closer to the center of the population, like out on Dorchester or by the high school. That way they're not running the traffic all the way through town. I can understand it's expedient right now because of the cost factor of using a building they already had. And I have asked for the MOU for the renting of that 3-story office building from Mr. Hearn at the last county council meeting. And I haven't received anything, but going on the computer, it runs about $17 to $47 a square foot for office space in Somerville on Main Street is what I can get off of the computer. Now, $47, a brand new building in a prime location, you get the top, if not more. 40,000 square feet comes out to $1,880,000 a year. From what I understand, it's supposed to be a 40-year lease. That comes out to $75,200,000, not counting cost of living increases. How is this fiscally responsible? Because all of us are going to have to pay for it. But, you know, there's things we really need to look at. We can't get it back once it's done. You can get those 30 pieces of silver. There are other people who've taken that and wish they hadn't had. We don't get a do-over. We don't get a redo. Once it's gone, we can't get it back. Please keep it in the historic district. Thank you.
Peter Gorman,
Mayor, Council, good evening. We'd all like to put this fight behind us tonight. It hasn't just been 3 years, it's been about 20 years on this property. But the preservationists, as well as the Board of Architectural Review and the Planning Commission, say the solution is not to take the hospital out of the historic district. because the town could lose control over what happens next. Despite the proposed MOU on tonight's agenda that portends to lock in the current development plan for both phases, financial feasibility will determine what happens to that site. There are questions that need answers before you act tonight. Are there bids or contracts for more than just a county office building? How about the 100-room hotel, the retail space, the townhouses? Answers to these questions will give you a much better idea about the feasibility of this entire project. Has there been a feasibility study for the boutique hotel? The one that Mayor Collins did concluded that Downtown Boutique Hotel was not feasible as an unbranded hotel. Does that mean we will have a travel lodge there? Will it be able to compete with the higher rates against the hotels and motels out at I-26? If feasible, why not make the old hospital a boutique hotel? How will the town benefit from this development? How much tax revenue can you expect from the latest proposal? I've heard that the county has formed a public-private partnership and that they have zoned it an industrial park, which gives them the ability to tax it at 4%. And you can even rebate those taxes under industrial park. If the county retains most of the land, there won't be much property tax forthcoming. These are questions for which the taxpayers deserve answers. Delaying tonight's vote on the MOU and demand information and answers from the county. The last thing we want is a failed project at this critical intersection. I urge you to vote no on this proposal. I want to comment on another item on your agenda tonight, and that is item 10F. And this is directed at the entire council. You're being asked by Councilwoman Tiffany Johnson to quitclaim 1/10 of an acre of public property for $1 to add to her present property. Surely this is not market value. Real estate metrics suggest it's about $30,000 worth of property. Our town code of ethics requires that office holders not use their office for self-enrichment. I urge you to vote no on this tonight. Thank you.
Adrian Quest.
Good evening, Mayor Tutchberry and council members. My name is Adrian Quist and have lived in Somerville since 1965. Here we are again tonight to express our concerns and opposition about the proposed development of 500 North Main Street at one of the busiest intersections in Somerville. I am one of many citizens that are strongly opposed to taking the old hospital building property out in the National Historic District so the county can proceed with their proposed overdeveloped building plans, which include demolishing most of the former hospital. How many more times are we going to change the documented rules? I call it betrayal of Somerville's past. Now, we don't have to be like other cities. Remember that Somerville is blessed by what it is today, thanks largely to the Somerville Preservation Society and the historical districts. Prior to these organizations, many treasured buildings have been demolished, and now you want to mostly demolish another treasure where Somerville citizens were born, worked, and died there. When is it going to stop? Where is the love of Somerville? Where is the love and protection of Somerville that you as a council keep talking about? My suggestion is to keep it as a historical district, keep the entire hospital building with the county council chamber, and renovate the interior for a possible public library and mixed businesses. Redesign the landscape and make the property into a Veterans Memorial Public Park. There is one thing we all need to remember. Not one not one individual person in this room, in this town, in this county owns 500 more North Main Street. But let's be fair, it belongs to all of us taxpayers and not just our elected officials. Thank you for your time.
Michelle Hubrick.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Hubrick, and I own a law firm right down the street from here at 207 West Richardson Avenue. I'm going to give you a unique perspective because I'm not from here. I wasn't born here. I wasn't raised up here. I'm from Ohio. That's where everybody groans usually. Usually sounds like a punchline when I say that. But it's a pretty telling and accurate statement about who I am as a human being and about my perspective. In Ohio, our connection to history and preservation is not deeply embedded in who we are as a community. It's not deeply embedded and preserved like it is here in Somerville. Ohioans don't have the historical connection that you find here. We just don't. It's a failing that we have, I think. In the age-old question of why are there so many people from Ohio here? One of the answers you might get is that we sense the connection to the past that you hold here, and we envy it. My father's a retired police officer who still lives in Canton, Ohio, and he visits here often. He enjoys golf courses here. He enjoys the history. He enjoys downtown Somerville. As a daughter of a public servant, I have a very strong interest in this community and in community in general. My son is 15 years old. He attends Somerville High School and he plays for the Green Wave. I attend his games at John McKissick Field. It's right behind Dorchester District 2 offices. I don't know if you know that, but those offices used to be Somerville High School, built in 1924. They were repurposed and they're beautiful now. My law firm operates out of a beautiful historic home where the charm of Somerville is evident from the swings on my front porch to the low brick wall right in front of the building where the children play after they've finished summer camp at the Somerville YMCA. I fully support adaptive reuse of buildings such as the Dorchester District 2 offices and the Cultural Center right here on the corner and my own law firm. As a proud resident, neighbor, and taxpayer here in Somerville, I'm concerned about the merits of tearing down the old hospital, which was built with Somerville brown bricks. And in a purely financial sense, at the very least, we should be concerned about the cost-benefit analysis, and we should be seeking an economic feasibility study to determine if tearing down this part of your history, and now my history, is a financially sound decision. I'm an advocate of preserving our connection to history and keeping 500 North Main in the historic district, where we can make sure we are maintaining our historical integrity. Thank you.
Mike Streckert.
Mayor, Council, I'm the second Vice President of Somerville Preservation Society and retired architect. Over 40 years' experience working with countless developers across the country. Saving the historic hospital building is important. After all, it's one of only 2 WPA buildings in Somerville and the only remaining WPA hospital in the state. However, there is a much bigger underlying issue at stake. Over the past 3 years, the concept for 500 North Main has been continually whittled down. Lost in multiple discussions and these design reductions is the other thing that's been whittled down: the developer's return on investment. Starting in December 2022, the plan had a 5-story parking garage, 5-story 245-unit apartment, 4-story hotel, 2 3-story office buildings, 2 small retail buildings, and a complete removal of the hospital building. A great return on their investment. Over the next 2.5 years, the plan has now been reduced to what is shown on Attachment A to the new Memorandum of Understanding between the town and the county. This reduction is now approximately 30% of what was originally proposed. Not looking like a great return on that investment. I had significant concerns that once the DMX zoning was back in effect, there were no restrictions on the developer as far as what phase 2 would be. But we now have an MOU between the town and the county. The document, which I'm quite certain will be held up as a banner of compromise this evening. Is it? Let me point out some interesting aspects of this MOU. First, why an MOU? Why not an MOA, which is much more binding? Next, and I quote, the town and county agree that car washes and high-density apartments and storage facilities will not be allowed on this site. What's a high-density apartment? Not defined in our UDO. Is that 15 to 20 units per acre, 30 units per acre, or more? Item 3 states, upon execution of this MOU, the county will abide by the restrictions set forth herein above on the development of 500 North Main. I seem to recall the county on several occasions stating the property will be sold to the developer. I'm not an attorney, but I presume this MOU between the town and the county will no longer be valid once the county sells the property. The BAR has denied this request. The Planning Commission recommended denial. The bias survey showed over 60% favored keeping the entire hospital building. How many more ways does the council need to hear the answer? No. Saving 500 North Main is more than saving a historic building. It's saving the town from a potential mass build out of this 5-acre site at the gateway to the area that is the very charm and character of the town. Thank you.
Tiffany Heber.
Good evening. I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, so I just jotted something down. Tiffany Heber, 400 Pimpernel Street, Somerville. Let me be clear, I support redevelopment that is intentional, respectful, and thoughtfully planned, adaptive reuse of the original portico and both flanking wings to maintain symmetry and balance. Watching developers maneuver around Dorchester County development regulations by annexing into the smaller jurisdictions. Just look at St. George, Ridgeville, Reesville, well, not Reesville yet, Harleyville, what the developers have done to circumnavigate the county regulations. Basically, the county is wanting to do the same thing. It's not an annexation, but the principle is the same. Thank you.
Etta Williams.
Good evening, Town Council. I'm Etta Williams, 117 Covert Lane. I live in the old Quail Arbor. I've been a resident of Somerville since 1970, and I've seen the gross, the good, better, and the ugly. It really has turned ugly in a lot of areas that used to be so quaint. When I heard about the destruction of the Somerville Hospital, I have many friends who were born there and have a relation to that hospital. I know as somebody that lived here in 1970, our neighbors at that time of Central Avenue had an emergency. It was too far to go to Charleston because the little boy had swallowed a coin and it was lodged in his throat. So I said, where do you go? Go to the hospital here. So at that time, the hospital was still open and the little boy, they tried all kinds of measures. The coin just wouldn't move. So they said, we're going down to Charleston. By that time, the coin flipped in his throat and he was safe. But the hospital was still a place of vibrancy at that time. Since I've been here since 1970, a lot of places have been improved. I come from Europe. I like when they turn old things with newfangled ideas or whatever, turning them around, make them pliable again, viable again. There's the old Squirrel Inn. When that was done, I said, great idea, you know? Or you take the Coca-Cola plant. It was refurbished. Now it's the YMCA. I have to go, YMCA. And so a lot of things changed and were improved upon. But by the hospital, there's a corner. On each corner, there's really blight. It's ugly. When you come from the north end of Main Street into Somerville, it doesn't begin to look pretty till you cross over the railroad tracks and you're really downtown. So for me, please preserve the old hospital, make it viable, make it a green zone, because there's this wonderful monument that was put out there. I knew some of the people that are on that monument. Make it a green space, get with the folks that own property in that area to maybe redevelop. You know, the service station is gone. It looks bare and it's a blight. As far as housing and living spaces, look what has happened to the Brickyard and the whole town that has been developed over there.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Bill McIntosh.
A lot. County Council is asking a lot of you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and other honorable members of Town Council. We meet again. County Council is asking a lot of you. And I use the term asking very loosely. Thinking Mr. Mayor and Administrator Slatton are being candid, they will agree with me. It's really been more of a demand than an ask. Regardless, County Council is asking you to vote against the will of the majority of your constituents. For some of you, they're asking you to vote against the overwhelming majority of your constituents. They're asking for you to pretend that this MOU before you is legally binding, and clearly is not. They're asking for you to pretend that these proposed restrictive covenants are irreversibly permanent, and clearly they are not. But more than that, they're asking for you to vote for a metaphorical slap in the faces of the very citizens that you guys have appointed to the Town Board of Architectural Review and Planning Commission. These are ordinary citizens, your appointees, that have dived in headfirst into this issue, studied it, and acted on it. Let's talk a second about the Board of Architectural Review. The only thing that's been submitted to them, and it was submitted twice, was a very ugly, modernistic office building that would be the first thing anybody saw driving in from I-26. The BAR asked questions. Why such a modernistic design? Why put it in such a prominent space? Instead of an answer, they got this: strip the BAR of its authority by removing it from the historic district. The irony is this third edition, this third plan is better than the first two. It's just not enforceable. So what I would propose, in addition to a no vote tonight, would be a fresh start with the county, where the town and county would actually work together on a mutually agreeable, mutually enforceable plan, a plan unit development, a PUD, with an accompanying development agreement, which is what a project of this magnitude deserves. All we need to do that is to show a little spinal fluid tonight and vote no. Thank you.
Birdie Crosby.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for letting me have a chat with you tonight. This evening, the agenda calls for a second reading regarding removing 500 North Main Street from the historic district. To many of the families whose ancestors helped build this town in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I think it holds great deal of significance. Generations of Somervillians were born in that old hospital. Many of their parents were treated there, and of course, many passed on there. And I know there are a few folks just like Mr. Deaver who have come here and may not have these historic attachments to it. And of course, some of the newcomers do recognize the history in some of these older buildings. Both the BAR and the Planning Commission have voted against the removal of this site from the historic district. And I'm sure that those volunteers did a great deal of deliberation in coming up with their decisions. So please don't cast aside the work that they've done. Please vote with them for this site to remain in the historic district. Thank you very much. And I hope y'all have a good evening and have a successful discussion about it.
Jason Ward.
Good evening. On behalf of Dorchester County and Dorchester County Council, I just want to express our commitment to both the restrictive covenant and the memorandum of understanding that you would consider prior to second reading. We are appreciative of the opportunity to work with town council as well as the Furman Company to come up with a project now known as the park option, which will allow this property to be developed in such a manner that we can honor veterans. Also to provide an opportunity to honor the Meservey family that's been instrumental in this community with Meservey Square, as well as to provide an opportunity for the county to remain on that location in a modern office building that's ADA compliant. And finally, to provide an opportunity to use that property by returning it to the tax roll to support other county and town projects for the good of our community. And we thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Robert Poppleton.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Ward. The Furman Company is also ready and committed to the plan that is in place. We are aware of the development of an MOU. We are aware of the enhancement, the improvement of documents between the county and the town, and we fully endorse that in any way that we can better articulate our commitment to this plan, to this community. Of course, I ask for your trust as the developer that we will do what we can to best reflect the intentions and character of this community through this development. We know that it must be earned. I hope that we've started to earn some of that over the last 3 years of effort we've spent to listen and react to what we've heard from stakeholders, from members of the public, from business owners who are very excited about this plan. We understand the county wants to remain downtown. They want to keep 100 jobs downtown in walking distance to many businesses. I won't recount in detail, but I do thank some people who have already acknowledged that this plan has been refined to better reflect what we've heard. It's gone from intense density, multiple 5+ story buildings, down to a more balanced approach. There are many concerns. We want to hear them. We are committed to continue to listen and dialogue. Should we continue to the DRB process, we will stop before that begins and have a community input meeting. Many times I've heard this evening and in past sessions, the importance of preservation of the historic elements, the importance of green space and park space. We really want to get that park space and all of this project right. Come and tell us what you would like to see there, how you would like to see that done. We truly believe that this new green space and the new light shown on the historic elements putting them in between, much more activity for this community, people coming and going with more volume throughout the day, week, evenings, throughout the year. We think this can be a very good thing for this community, and that's why we're here. Thank you.
Reverend Ron Mock.
Good evening. My name is Judy Byrne. I've been asked to read the comments from the Reverend Ron Mock. May I be permitted to do that? Thank you. The words of Reverend Ron Mock, Somerville Town Council member Bob Jackson incorrectly called the old hospital, now county building, a monument to segregation at the town council meeting on July the 10th. However, historically, when it was built in 1937, it was probably one of the few integrated public buildings in Somerville and Dorchester County, long before the schools were integrated in 1970. With this significance, the hospital county building should not be removed from the historic district. It should be preserved as a monument to Somerville's steps to do away with segregation. Since the Dorchester County Hospital was built in 1937 with federal WPA funds, it had to accept patients of all races. The Old Green Hospital Infirmity for Blacks, the Arthur B. Lee Hospital for Colored People, Inc., run by Dr. J. H. Alston, a Black physician, was located 1 block south of the county hospital on the southwest corner of North Main and West 4th North Streets. It was established in 1922 and was closed in 1938, and the patients were integrated into the new hospital. The building had 8 patient rooms, kitchen, and a large operating room on the north side. This Black hospital building remained closed for 4 years. In 1942, the Right Reverend Joseph E. Kearney, Bishop of the Reformed Episcopal Church Diocese of the Southeast and President of Cummings Memorial Theological Seminary, purchased the old Black hospital, making it the home campus of Cummings Seminary and the diocesan headquarters and bishop's office. In 1980, Bishop William H. S. Jordan and the Diocese of the Southeast purchased the Pinewood School property at 705 South Main Street. This became and remains the new campus for Cummings Seminary and Diocesan and Bishop's headquarters. The campus on North Main Street, the old Black hospital in the commercial district of Somerville, was sold to a bank to help purchase the South Main Street campus. Thank you very much.
Carol Sweatman.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm Carol Sweatman. I moved here in the 1970s. I came as a military wife. I think the 500 North Main should remain in the historical district, and I'm concerned about the Veterans Memorial. Thank you for your time.
Chris Kaler.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Chris Kaler. I'm the board chair for the Somerville Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here on behalf of the board itself. Many of the members are here. If you'll stand to raise your hand, please. They're shy, apparently, I guess. All right. Here to talk about 500 North Main Street. You have an unenviable decision to make tonight, determining what you feel is the best course of action for this property. The Chamber Board had a similar decision when it came to taking a stance, and it was not taken lightly. So I ask you, does the old hospital make Somerville great? Or is Somerville great because of the school district? Is it green space and quality of life in general that makes Somerville special? Or is it due to opportunity for growth and prosperity? Or is it the potential you envision for the future, which can start with this property? The ultimate question, is Somerville great because of a culmination of all those things I asked and many more things? Guess what? By voting to remove 500 North Main from the historic district, you unlock the potential to keep Somerville great and looking forward to a bright future. This project will set the example for historic preservation coexisting with modern amenities. Put the property on the tax rolls and create an economic engine which will generate millions of dollars for our schools, the town, and the county, all of which will be reinvested back into the community. It will continue to honor those that sacrifice for our great nation and provide much desired green space. It will integrate office, retail, housing, and amenities locally, reducing long commutes and encouraging walkability. And by having mixed-use space in the center of town that serves people at every age and stage of life, the quality of life for everyone will improve. The developer and the county have heard from the public and have done an excellent job developing the current iteration of the plan and what we, the Chamber, believe best suits all interests. The Chamber urges you to vote yes on removal of the property from the historic district. Thank you.
Hayward Hudson.
Before I speak, I request that my remarks be printed verbatim in the town minutes. Can I have your assurance that that will occur? Removal of 500 North Main from the historic district is tantamount to approving the demolition of most, if not all, of the old hospital. In a recent article in the Post and Courier, it was noted that Charleston is spending $3 million to restore 2 smokestacks. Dorchester County is considering the Furman plan that would demolish most, if not all, of the old hospital. The federally funded 90-year-old hospital is in good shape. We, the citizens of Somerville and Dorchester County, own it. We would incur indebtedness for 40 years with the ugly proposed county office building. If it made sense to repurpose the old post office into the cultural center, doesn't it make sense to repurpose the old hospital as well? The current Furman County plan, like previous plans, is fraught with traffic, parking, congestion, and overdevelopment issues. No economic feasibility studies or cost-benefit analyses have been presented. No traffic studies have been done. What are the county and town expected revenues from this plan? How are we going to pay back the debt on the office building? Blighted and contaminated areas surround 500 North Main. Why not encourage redevelopment of the blighted areas first? Why not retain the only green space between I-26 and downtown Somerville as a park like everyone except developers want? You could repurpose the old hospital as a heritage center and welcome center or boutique hotel and convention center with shops, restaurants, event venues, and a meeting hall. Dorchester County should begin any redevelopment plan by moving their unsightly vehicles from 500 North Main and relocate their motor pool to the property on Highway 78 that they purchased in 2010 for the new office building. That's where the floodplain that crosses Somerville begins. County Council has made some very poor decisions. County Planning Director Kira Reinertson admitted recently that, quote, all the high and dry parcels have been developed already, and now we are pushing into the floodplain areas, unquote. The county and the town have approved over 20,000 new units that will generate the need for 40 schools. A new high school costs $200 million. Where's the money coming from? You want to trust your colleagues. You are being pressured by county council to abrogate your responsibility to ensure that the redevelopment of 500 North Main meets the high standards of your appointed bodies I could drive an 18-wheeler through the county's covenant and memorandum of
Thank you,
understanding.
Mr. Hudson. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment for items on the September 11th. Moving on to petitions. Item 8A, the petitions to annex Dorchester County TMS numbers 14600000007, 109 and 112 Jasmine Drive, 146000060, 1324 Lincolnville Road, 14600000017 Lincolnville Road, and 14600000023, 125 Craven Lane. 4 parcels totaling approximately 31.8 acres, currently all zoned R2 Single Family Residential in Dorchester County and requested to be zoned MFR Multifamily Residential following annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits. Being Council District 3, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval failed on a 2-4 vote at its meeting on April 21st, 2025. The Planning and Development Committee moved the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at its meeting on September 8th, 2025.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
Yes.
And this is approval of first reading?
A first reading, yes, sir. So this is about 32 acres, of which the developer is going to put 94 lots on there, which is actually less dense, local, single-family neighborhood. There's other requirements that he makes some improvements at the site. But one of the improvements coming from the traffic study would have the developer improving the intersection of Lincolnville Road and Ladson Road, which is 2.6 miles away, not in the town of Somerville, not even in Dorchester County. And that doesn't seem to make sense to me. I'm all for developers paying their fair share, but making a developer spend $500,000 on an intersection that's neither in our town nor our county, when there are literally 1,000 other houses on that street that didn't so much as put in a turn lane on Lincolnville Road. So my motion would be to approve this, but require that improvement at the intersection of Lincolnville and Ladson Road. We should be pushing, Charleston County and DOT should have improved that intersection years ago. And we should be pushing both DOT and Charleston County to make those improvements.
Council members, any other items for discussion?
I do have a question. Why did the planning commission, their vote failed?
If I remember from the report, the traffic impact analysis
Oh, they were waiting for that.
was not complete at the time, correct? Okay, we're getting confirmation from the planning director. And that has since been completed. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of first reading, say aye.
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 Yeah, now just to confirm, are we approving first reading to approve it or the modified version without the traffic? Doing the traffic impact?
Motion on the table, approve it without the modifications at Ladson Road.
Thank you for the clarification. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it.
Nay. as well.
Okay. Let's see, it's 2 nays, so I need to vote. I'm in favor of passing first reading.
And I'll just say on that, I would approve 94 units on 31 acres. I think the density is like he said, better than residential. But if the traffic impact study said that there needs to be improvements made, I think the developer should have to do that.
Well, the traffic impact study showed that they were adding 10 cars in the AM peak hour and 6 cars in the PM peak hour. So spend $500,000 on 16 additional cars
Yeah.
hardly seems fair to me. And I think fairness is more important than sticking it to a developer, which I have no problem doing that either. But in this particular case, that doesn't make any sense.
And council members, we can continue the discussion at our next meeting on second reading.
Approval of memorandum of understanding between the town of Somerville and Dorchester County regarding 500 North Main Street, Somerville, South Carolina, 29483.
I make a motion, we agree.
Second.
Moratorium of understanding.
All right, have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion, council members?
Can we get some clarification, definitive clarification from our legal counsel on the ability to enforce the MOU to a third party?
At the risk.
Other discussion items? Hearing no other discussion items, I just want to state, because this MOU, it directly ties into item B, which is second and final reading, that I've heard from many folks on both sides of this decision, very passionate about their perspective, very concerned for the town of Somerville and the final product here. And I want everyone to know that I share all of those same concerns. Okay, the town of Somerville is an extremely special place, and it's special not only because of its people, but how we do things together. And I know this issue has brought some tension amongst many neighbors, and I want you to know, like a discussion I had with one of the gentlemen who spoke earlier, our intention and my intention is to do what is best for Somerville, the town of Somerville, not for me and not for any other group, but for the town of Somerville. And in listening to all sides and recognition of the survey results, which some folks can challenge, I believe our community expects something excellent to be done on this property. Okay? Something excellent won't be done without outside investment. The current state of this property is because it's a financial drain. And if we're concerned about our tax dollars, we should recognize that this financial drain is negatively impacting all of us as taxpayers. This opportunity should not be taken lightly, and I do not take it lightly, but I do believe that we have seen the feedback from the business community, the county, the Somerville dream, as well as many of the residents. They want an opportunity to live, work, and play closer together. They want the opportunity to enjoy another park space that is done as awesome as Hutchison Square. The Veterans Memorial needs to be a place where you can go and reflect, sit down and have a family gathering surrounding that memorial in a beautiful place. As people drive by and enter the town of Somerville, I want them to know that when you cross Highway 78 on Main Street, you're coming into an area of excellence. And those blighted properties that were referenced in this discussion, those blighted properties, nobody's investing in them because they haven't seen it been done well yet. But if we do it well here, we will encourage additional investment that will beautify and strengthen the corridor, create taxable revenue for our school district, as well as for all of the needs that I hear each and every day to solve traffic problems, to add pedestrian connectivity. And so I just wanted to lay all of that out there. Don't believe that you weren't heard, but I am in support of this memorandum of understanding because I truly believe it's what's best for Somerville and the goals that all of us have. And it actually solves some of the concerns that we heard here this evening. So any other discussion, council members?
Would it be prudent to consider items A and B together? Because it doesn't make any sense to pass one without the other. And worst of all,
to disapprove A and approve B would be a disaster.
I recognize and agree with that. You amend your motion to approve A and B, Councilman? Yep. Okay.
Second.
All right. Yes, sir.
Issue of against a third party is an issue. Notice that we have the county attorney and the county administrator. If they could give us an idea if they would agree to have that MOU run back third party. So it's take just a little bit of regret.
Mr. Administrator or Mr. Frampton?
Wouldn't the third party have to sign and agree to that change as well?
Can't make any third part, but firm company or Joe Blow.
So Mr. Mayor and council, very directly, there's nothing that the county objects to that's in this memorandum of understanding. And substantially, I don't understand any issue with us trying to hold a third party to this same agreement. In fact, I think many of you are aware, we have made sure that the covenants and restrictions document is inclusive of the town for that very same reason, to ensure that no changes will be made to that document without concurrence. So if we're prepared to offer something, Mr. Poppleton is sitting next to me, and they are fully committed to moving forward with really developing this project with the park option. I keep referring to that because that was as a result of reacting to what we heard and really trying to come up with something that would be excellent as you've described. So while the chairman is not here, I do have two council members present here. And again, we are committed to the principles outlined and don't have any issue with making sure as we move forward, very specifically with the agreement to sell the property, that we commit to these principles and include any future developer, whether that's Furman or whomever else.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. It's not an issue of trust between the councils. In fact, our councils are enjoying a relationship better than we have in decades, and I think that's what our people want. The issue is 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when none of us are sitting in these seats and that property is owned straight DMX, what is going to bind a third party, fourth party, fifth party to giving us exactly what we want on this plan? And I think it's a good plan. I think it should be redeveloped. I sincerely believe the majority of the people think it should be redeveloped, but I don't want when it's out of all of our hands, county and council included, when it is sold, that someone by the DMX zoning wants to put a 5-story apartment building there, or a car wash, or any other crazy thing we see going on every other corner in our town right now. If this is somehow binding, if we were able to just, this is too important to mess up. If we would just take a beat, find a way for this to be binding, I am all in favor of redeveloping that to include. Remember, the covenants only include a portion of the hospital and a facade of one of the wings. It does not include saying there won't be an apartment building and there won't be a car wash or a mini warehouse, anything that is allowed in the DMX. My preference would be that we table this for 1 month because this is too important not to get right. And I'm not making a motion, I'm just telling you what my suggestion would be, that we take a beat, we find a way that on things that we've all have already discussed and agreed upon, a way to make that binding to somebody other than everybody other in this room and other decision makers that come after us. But let me be very clear. I'm in favor of redeveloping the site, but the correct way.
We're lumping these two together now as
Yes, sir.
we're having a discussion about 500 North Main. I do have a few, just one or two comments about that and why I'm okay with moving forward as we are now. And it's really quite simple. People used to always ask me when I was fire chief, what's the hardest thing about being a fire chief? And I'd say, well, keeping firefighters happy. And they would say, well, what's so hard about that? I said, well, there's two things the firefighters don't like, and that's changing the way things are. And it's that simple. And that's if you can overcome that, you're doing something good. Another lesson I learned from the fire service was we pull up on a scene and we have a limited amount of information. We got to get a perfect plan. And what you learn really quick is that there is no perfect plan. You just have to put your trust and your faith in the people that are around you that are making these decisions with you, and go out and make the best decision possible. And that's what I think we have now. We have a very good plan in front of us that I think we're sitting with. We're seeing a bunch of information where we're trying to make the Dorchester County out to be the evil here in this situation. And I don't like to see that. That's not productive, and it's not Somerville. And I said this last month too. We've got to do better, y'all. And I've heard a lot of comments about that, and I don't like to hear that. But with that, I'm okay with moving forward. I think we've got a solid plan. I think we've kicked this can around the block and down the road, up the street, and back down again. So that's where I am tonight. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, with that,
Mr. Mayor, I want this motion to pass. But if we can't figure out a way to make this binding, I cannot vote for this.
okay. Council members, are we ready to take a vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Hey,
Okay, I am an aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would move we lump items C, D, E, F, and G in together for approval.
All right, that's a motion for approval of C, D, E, F, and G. And a second. Any discussion on these items? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 10A, a resolution to approve a lease purchase agreement with Pinnacle Bank for rolling stock.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
And if you could just tell me specifically what is that for? I read the agreement, but it didn't specify what.
Yeah, that's the $1.8 million for the police department, for the police cars and other rolling stock that have been, was approved through the budget.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would refrain from talking inside the chambers. Mr. Gorman, if you'd like to speak outside, that's perfectly fine, but please refrain from speaking inside the chambers while we're conducting business. I appreciate it.
I have never, right now. I thought I would go deeper to get on them. It had nothing to do with what's already been brought up. I need to talk for a whole committee.
Council, are we okay yielding this time?
Well, there is a portion for public comment at the end of this agenda.
Say what?
There's a
public comment period at the end of the agenda.
Yeah.
Please, we'll allow you to speak then.
Okay, then later.
At the public comment period at the end of the agenda.
Oh, at the end of the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Item 12. All right, we did get a motion in a second. We had a question for clarification on the lease purchase agreement. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 10B is first reading of an ordinance to amend the business license ordinance of the town of Somerville to update the class schedule as required by Act 176 of 2020.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 10C, a resolution finding that proposed municipal facilities will benefit the Midtown redevelopment project area.
So moved.
a motion, we approve that.
All right,
Second.
motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 10D, first reading of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of Somerville Municipal Facilities Corporation Installment Purchase Revenue Bonds, Town of Somerville Project, Series 2025, in the aggregate principal amount of not exceeding $47,500,000 for the design, construction, equipping, and furnishing of certain municipal facilities, authorizing the lease of the site thereof to Somerville Municipal Facilities Corporation, authorizing the execution and delivery of certain instruments relating to the issuance and sale of the aforesaid bonds, including a base lease agreement and a municipal facilities purchase and occupancy agreement, each between the town of Somerville, South Carolina, and Somerville Municipal Facilities Corporation, a trust agreement between Somerville Municipal Facilities Corporation and U.S. Bank Trust Company, National Association as trustee, a bond purchase agreement among the town, Somerville Municipal Facilities Corporation, and the underwriter, a preliminary official statement and an official statement related to the Series 2025 bonds, approving the creation of Somerville Municipal Facilities Corporation and its undertakings related to the aforesaid bonds and other matters relating thereto.
I'll make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve first reading of a lot of language.
You don't want to repeat that back, Mr. Mayor?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to say I am all in favor of a new public safety complex. I think we need it and it's long overdue. Thankful to the county for giving us $10 million towards that even. I just don't agree with us going in debt for $54 million in bond payments and an additional $3.4 million annually in addition to our already $2.8 million. So I just can't agree to that. I feel like it needs to, the price of that public safety complex needs to come down.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay.
The ayes have it.
Item E, first reading of an ordinance for the town of Somerville to convey a 10-foot strip across town-owned property, which was condemned in Town v. Smiley and Son Development LLC. Case number 2025 CP 18-00018.
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item F, first reading of an ordinance conveying a portion of South Pine Street containing 0.10 acre to Rufus T. Wilson IV and Tiffany Wilson. Said tract was included in the debt mold plan.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself.
Noted. Councilwoman Johnson Wilson is recused.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion and seconds for approval. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. Let me just clarify that when the debt mold plan was put into place, I was the town engineer. This is 20-something odd years ago. Since that time, we have approved literally 100 quitclaim deeds to individuals for which there was an overlap from their private property and the debt mold plan, which CE Detmold was a railroad engineer who designed our town, but never stepped foot in our town. So it was obviously designed, but never actually laid out on the ground. And so as a result, there are a lot of errors between the historic map and what actually got built in town. But we have approved these at $0 or $1 since the inception of this almost 30 years ago.
Councilman Halter, I appreciate you bringing that forward. One of our professors actually wrote a book about the correction of the debt loan matter.
Yes, sir. I worked very closely with him on that.
Yes, sir. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item G, first reading of an ordinance to amend the Shoemaker Tract Development Agreement by and between Lennar Carolinas LLC and the town of Somerville for that certain property identified as approximately 276.8 acres of property located in Dorchester County along the southern side of Dorchester Road near the intersection of Dorchester Road and Orangeburg Road, commonly known as Limehouse Farms. The development plan includes residential and commercial land uses.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if y'all would just clarify that for the public, just as to what it is, so there's no confusion.
Certainly, Mr. Slatton, I'll try, I'll try and you can correct me.
Sure.
We have a dedicated public space that was previously classified more as park space, that now we have more flexibility in what public use can be on that space is the gist of the overall. What did I miss?
And we're also conveying to the county 300-foot strip along the river as basically a greenway that will connect to their property that's next door. That is also a green space.
And we're
And we're
redoing
redoing the agreement. Yes, of course.
All right, any other questions, comments, discussion?
Great team.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 11A, consideration of a proposed franchise area contract price increase for fiscal year 2025 from Carolina Waste for solid waste collection.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion if it's acceptable to lump items A and B. It doesn't make sense to approve a price increase if we're not going to. Is that appropriate?
Actually, the second. In the contract.
Very good. Carry on then.
That price increase, how did that come up? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Would you like to make a motion, Councilwoman?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Discussion, Councilwoman?
The price increase, where did that number they brought that to us?
That's a 2% CPI that's included in their existing contract right now. It works out to 25 cents per month per account. So it's $3 per account for the entire year.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item B, discussion and consideration of renewal of solid waste collection contract with Carolina Waste for fiscal year 2026.
I'll make a motion that we renew that contract.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to renew the contract. Any discussion?
Just thank you to my constituents who did take the survey. I took those considerations to heart and proceeding to make the motion to renew this. So thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 11C, discussion of referring to the Planning Commission an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 2, Section 2.3.5, infill lot setbacks, reduce setbacks for existing lots 0.35 acres or smaller in conventional zoning districts. The request was by Councilmember Johnson Wilson. This item was postponed at the June 12th, 2025 council meeting until the September 11th, 2025 council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to table this.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For public comment, William Harbison.
We'll go ahead and let him go real quick.
By the way, the third year that the hospital was built, I was born there, but I'm not gonna tell you my age. Okay. I appreciate Ms. Wilson's was she took pictures of the water running down the street, and I know you were in it. I've never had this problem until a little over a year ago. And in that time, around that time, the trees were taken away from over and sidewalks were built. In that time, we've had new paving. In that time, we've had stop-ups where the public, the CPW came in and had to clean out not only my sewage line, but everybody else is down there. And while I'm leading up to this, I called the waterworks the first time a little over a year ago. And they came and looked and couldn't find a water leak. They said it's not our problem. I called the town. The town came and they looked, got his blueprints out. He said, "Oh my God." He said, "My fellas can't touch this. It's fiber optics down there." Well, water ran out for a long time. And finally, it dried up enough, it quit. Now we've got the rain, the water is coming back again. I called AT&T. I get better cooperation from corporations than I do politicians. They assured me that they would check into it. The very next morning, the engineer from AT&T was to my house the day before yesterday. I do not want to cause this fellow a problem because he honestly doesn't know what's wrong. He says he thinks it stopped up. Somebody might have broken the line. Now remember, besides I said they paved roads, that meant that those heavy construction dump trucks from Banks that did the paving, they was there, and they did break part. They did break up the driveway going in the West Richardson house. But I'm not saying they did it. I'm not saying the waterworks did some kind of damage. I'm not saying it's AT&T's complete fault. Also, Spectrum dug a line under the road to put a line.
Thank you, sir. We'll look into that.
Yeah. I'm just saying that something's got to be done because it's gum, slime.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
I have some about that.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any more public comments. Next is executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move we enter executive session for discussion and negotiations incident to a proposed sale of town-owned property TMS 137-00-00-002.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to go into executive session for discussion of negotiations incident to a proposed sale of town-owned property, TMS number 137-00-00-002. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. Yes, you can recuse yourself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are in executive session. What is the clock?